Hey, Adam.
Yeah,
Are you ready to go back in time?
I am.
Are you ready for a blast from the past?
Where are we going?
We're going more than 20, I can't believe this, more than 20 years into the past. We've never done this on the podcast.
1959?
No, 20 years. But, okay, math is important, buddy.
Okay.
2023. We're going back to the year 2002.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I love that year. Yeah.
Okay.
I was a rascal.
Rascal.
For sure.
That's an old-fashioned name, so let's go back to an old-fashioned year.
All right. You know, I'm Adam Manis,
And I'm Peter
and
Martin.
you're listening to the You'll Hear It podcast.
Music advice coming at you.
An open studio podcast. Peter, you're not even flinching anymore. I'm trying to throw you off with,
Well,
and
I'm starting
hey
to get
there.
used to it now. I'm starting to get
Yeah.
used to it. So it's a very special episode today because we're going to go back
Yeah, this is great.
and unearth something from the archives. Do you remember Marian McPartland's piano jazz?
I think, like probably a lot of our listeners who are especially our age and around our age or older, this was a seminal show before there was podcasts, really.
Yes.
This was just a radio show on NPR. Is that right?
That's right. Right.
Yeah.
Coming out of the South Carolina affiliate, I think, for some reason, but recorded in New York City.
But she was an amazing interviewer.
Incredible. I mean, she's the OG jazz podcast.
I mean, doing what we're doing here with our little humble 2-keyboard setup,
Yeah.
she had pianos.
2 pianos
Yeah.
in studio. She was amazing. Marian McPartland, and I think everybody's familiar with her.
Wonderful player as well.
Amazing player. But I had the honor to appear on Piano Jazz. I grew up listening to this. I remember Kenny Kirkland in, I believe it was 1987 or 1986, being on the show. Herbie Hancock. I mean, everybody was on there. And
Bill
it wasn't just
Evans,
pianists.
like,
Yeah. She had everybody. So when she asked me to be on it in 2002, I was honored and just nervous. I mean, I was pretty young then still, I think, semi-young, youngish. But I mean, I definitely knew
Young enough.
It was very hard to not think about all of the great folks. I mean, she had Roy Hargrove. She had a lot of like non-pianists or piano adjacent jazz musicians. And anyway, so we have the audio here, and that's going to be the episode today. So we're going back to 2002. Enjoy Marian McPartland's Piano Jazz featuring Peter Martin as guest.
Hey.
Piano Jazz is made possible by the National Endowment for the Arts, the Baldwin Piano Company, the Friends of Piano Jazz, and NPR. Hi, I'm Marian McPartland. My guest today on Piano Jazz is Peter Martin, a young pianist and composer from New Orleans who plays with great daring and excitement. His elegant touch and clear and distinctive solos complete the picture of a young musician on the rise. Peter, how are you?
I'm well.
Are you on the rise?
I hope so. I
really think you are. It's so much has happened for you since I met you all those years ago at Thelonious Monk competition. I was looking that up. Was it 1993?
I guess it was 93.
I mean, it's quite a while ago.
1993.
And you must have done all kinds of different things during the past 7 or 8 years.
Right. I have. I've done a lot of things, and I guess I feel like I am arrived somewhat now that I'm here sitting with you about to create some music and speak about it. So this is a pleasure for me.
Well, it's a pleasure for me, and that's what we're doing. We're going to create some music and speak about it. And right now, I'd like to have you create some. So what do you think about starting out with?
Well, Embraceable You has been on my mind a lot lately, so I'd like to play that.
Has it?
It has.
Well, I think that's a good choice for an opening tune because it's not only a great tune, but people love it, and I'm going to hear a totally new version of it done by you.
All right.
Okay. You know, I love that tune, Peter, but what I liked about your version was hearing it in another key. I think the original key is F, and I don't know, it sounds so much warmer or something in E flat.
Yes, I think it does. In playing it with different vocalists, like I did it with Betty Carter and Diane Reeves. I think they both did it in E flat. I got used to hearing the lyric in that key, and it had a certain resonance to me, and it always seemed to make sense at that particular place.
Well, I can see how it would, and a lot of times I'll be playing a tune and I'll get tired of it and I'll move it up into a different key, and it gives it a fresh feeling or something. I don't know. I have all these little idiosyncrasies that you probably do too.
Yeah, I mean I've found that too. It's like a revelation sometimes going into it has a different sonority, of course, and a different vibration to the instrument. Playing in different keys, just as much as using different voicings and different melodic patterns.
Yeah, and you have to move your fingers in a different place when you're in another key.
Absolutely.
You sort of. Well, I was thinking about how I met you, and I'm wondering, after that Thelonious Monk festival, like where did you go after that?
Well, right after that period, I started working with Roy Hargrove. And I was still living.
Jim, he is.
Oh, absolutely.
Isn't he wonderful?
Oh, he's incredible. I mean, that's someone I really learned a lot from, even though we're exactly the same age. I almost feel like he was a mentor to me. Being able to play in his band, those wonderful musicians. And I was still living in New Orleans, but I was traveling a lot with them, and that was really the perfect situation. It was very inspiring to be playing, with my peers, playing something exciting musically every night.
But so then you went somewhere, I read where you went to Juilliard for a couple of years. Was that after the Thelonious Monk thing or before?
No, that was before, right when I graduated high school.
Oh.
I came up to New York and went to Juilliard. I was there for 3 semesters.
Okay.
And, I was sort of having illusions or delusions of being a classical pianist, concert pianist at the time. But I really wanted to play jazz, but I grew up in St. Louis, and we didn't, there wasn't a vibrant jazz scene when I was coming up, outside of on the radio.
Wasn't your father a classical violinist?
Right. Both my parents, actually. My father's a violist. He still plays in the St. Louis Symphony. And my mom is a violinist.
Terrific.
And my father also plays piano and organ and a number of things. But
how did he feel when you turned to jazz?
Well, he's very laid back. I mean, I think he was. Both my parents were very supportive. I mean, my dad's always been a big jazz fan, and he was the one who first played me Art Tatum records, and he had a John Coltrane record. He had a real small but thorough collection.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And he had this great box set of LPs, the Smithsonian Classic Jazz Collection, which was like the lineage all the way from the beginnings of the, Jelly Roll Morton and different original New Orleans music all the way up until whenever it was made, like the early 70s.
Oh, that's terrific, because it gives you all those sort of reference points. I sometimes think that musicians who have started with Coltrane and haven't heard back in the days of Jelly Roll and those people, that they're missing out on something in their own playing because they don't have that reference.
Right.
To, even if you don't play something like Jelly Roll, you still, know what he did.
Right. You know that it existed and from whence it came.
Right, from whence it came.
Right.
And by the way, you turned into a composer too. You've got some things of your own, haven't you?
Right. Yeah. Well, I love writing music. I love to compose, and I've always done a little bit of that, and started to do more and more over the years.
Well, do one.
Okay,
I'd love to hear what's this. All right, what's this one?
I'm going to play La Pregunta.
Now that's off your record, isn't it?
Right, exactly. And it's something that's loosely based upon the poetry of Pablo Neruda, which I was reading. He's a wonderful Chilean poet, and I was reading a lot of his work when I was writing the music for this record. And so I ended up borrowing one of his titles.
It's funny how you can get inspiration from something like that, from something really musically great will come out of some words that you read that went into your head. So I can't wait to hear this one.
All right.
Boy, that's really an impressive piece of music. How long did it take you to write that?
Well, I wrote it pretty, as I recall, pretty much in a few hours. But I had been playing around with the idea of it for a while, like the one line. I had been messing with that, but then when I decided to turn that into a tune, it just came real quick.
Well, what's actually the main melodic part of that? I mean, can you give me a one-finger version of?
Well, when the melody comes in, it's which is on top of. And then the melody. But I always had in mind to have I always had in mind to have a horn playing it on top of it. So in this scenario, which is the first time for me to play solo, I can't quite play everything that I'm really hearing at the same time.
Sounded like you were, my goodness. But that's brilliant. Anyway, there's more to come with Peter Martin. Our program is made possible in part by a grant from the National Endowment for the Arts. I'm Marian McPartland, and this is Piano Jazz from NPR. There's something in the back of my head that we should be playing something.
All right.
You know?
Be a pleasure.
And I don't know. I would love to do a Sonny Rollins tune. I'm sure you're familiar with a bunch of those.
I know some, and I love Sonny. I mean, I remember when he came to St. Louis when I was in high school, we got so few jazz concerts that everyone was a big event. I mean, we'd be looking forward to it, and he did a concert at one of the local universities, and just, I wasn't really familiar with his music, but his whole persona and his personality on the instrument just blew me away.
His personality on the instrument, that's a cute way of putting it, because he sure has personality on his instrument. And we had a talk once about tunes, and I mean, he'll play, it seems like any old tune. He's telling me how much he liked Peg of My Heart. Mm-hmm. I never thought, but I've heard him play it, and it's amazing. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I would love to play this thing, Sunny Moon for Two. It's just a blues, I think. Could we do that?
That'd be great.
Okay.
We'll see if I know it now.
It's funny, you just fell into playing two pianos. Do you do a lot of that?
I haven't done much of it, and I love to do it. The few times I've had occasion to do it, it's been a real pleasure for me. I did a couple of concerts with Ellis Marsalis last year down in New Orleans, and that was really the first time in a long time I've done it.
He's very good at that too. We had him, I think we had him twice on Piano Jazz, and he's got some interesting tunes of his own, and he's a very fine player, isn't he?
Yeah, he's so understated, you almost forget until you actually get up on stage with him and have to play with him how good of a pianist he is. And he does a funny thing. We rehearsed, and I was kind of trying to pick his brain as we were rehearsing, because I know he's done a lot of two-piano playing. And, he was real laid back. Whatever tunes you want, whatever tunes, let's play them. And we rehearsed. And then when we got on the concert, right before we're about to start, he kind of looked at me with a twinkle in his eye and played totally different tunes. The couple of tunes that we did rehearse, he did them in different keys and everything.
Oh, boy, that's mean. That's mean.
Well, I don't even think he thought about it. I think, he was excited about doing the concert, and the rehearsal was okay for him, but he was ready to go once we got on the concert. I think he'd already put the rehearsal out of his mind.
Yeah, you might have you might have been surprised. I tell you, who likes to do that kind of stuff is George Shearing. He'll suddenly change key or play stride piano or something.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it all goes with the territory. Jazz is improvised music, and that's one way of improvising. If you can catch the other person off guard, I guess you win the game.
Right, exactly. But that was. I remember when I was playing with Betty Carter, I think she really thrived off that kind of a relationship with her trio.
Oh yeah.
And the fact that, because I remember on that whole tour, she kept telling the three of us in the trio, she said, "Well, I'm older than all three of you combined," which she was. We were all 20 years old at the time. And then the next statement would be something to the effect of, but I'm still gonna get you tonight once we get on the gig. It was like a sporting event.
Well, I'm too chicken to get into that stuff. Well, how about I don't know. I'd like to play something for you just as a change of pace here.
I would love to hear that. Maybe I don't know how you feel about doing one of your own compositions. I'd
like to. And then this is a tune I guess I wrote it a while ago, and when I did it, I don't know why I was thinking about Errol Garner, and it's in a way it might sound like something he might do, but not in his styles. Anyway, I called it Errol. So here goes.
That was beautiful. I really enjoyed that. It's always a great reminder to hear pianists with such a beautiful tone that is a good reminder for me to concentrate on the most important thing about playing this instrument, and that is projecting in beautiful tones. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you. I'm very complimented. Well, there's more coming up. My guest is Peter Martin. Our program is made possible in part by the Baldwin Piano Company, manufacturers of the pianos heard on Piano Jazz. I'm Marian McPartland, and this is Piano Jazz from NPR. I guess you've recorded a few albums before this one that's become so popular.
Right. I did 2 recordings that were released only in Japan. But yeah, I did these records, and they were both trio records with Brian Blade on drums and Chris Thomas.
Oh, I love Brian
on
Blade.
bass.
What what a drummer. So then you decided to put together a group thing, the one you have out now or is that your regular band?
Well, I mean, it's as regular as I can get people like Nicholas Payton and Reginald Veal. It's hard to get them regularly, but I was really blessed in that the people that I had in mind as I was writing the music, agreed and were available to do the recording. And the reason it's beyond just a trio is because the material dictated it. Because at first I got to do a trio record. I'm a pianist, so I can feature myself. And as I was writing the music, I was hearing the horns in different ways, and maybe kind of like a Horace Silver, not stylistically, but the way he was such a great pianist, but he seemed to always be writing his music. He would be hearing something beyond just the piano trio.
Yeah, well, that's good because that's what makes it more interesting, I think, and more creative.
Thank you.
I just was thinking maybe we could do some ballad as a duet. What do you think would be good? Have you got any special tunes that you like?
Well, I would love to do Lament.
You mean JJ's tune?
JJ's Lament, exactly.
Oh, I love that tune.
Right. And I mean, I've always been one of the first jazz records that I heard was J.J. Johnson and Stan Getz with Oscar Peterson trio live at the Opera House, and I've always been a huge J.J. fan. And when I heard this tune, it was actually, I guess, Miles I heard playing it first. It was just one of those most beautiful and haunting melodies I've ever heard.
It is. Well, let's do a thing.
All right.
Maybe I'll start it out, and then you come in, and we'll sort of see where it goes.
See, there's another rehearsal.
Yes. That was nice.
It was beautiful, beautiful. I think that confirms what I've always felt about this tune in any great composition, that it almost plays itself, because some of the voicings you were using at the beginning are some of the same ones that I like to use, and I know I've never heard you play this tune before, so I'm honored that I would play the same thing that you would without knowing it.
Well, listen, we both know where the good chords are, and I don't know. As you say, that tune sort of plays itself, and I guess I first heard JJ himself play it. I think I have the record at home, and then of course having him on the show and having him play that. I was in my glory, just sitting there playing chords behind him. That actually, that tune should be in everybody's repertoire. I mean, there's certain tunes. There's like that one, and there's Lush Life.
Absolutely.
And there's 2 or 3 tunes that are sort of immortal.
Right.
Of course, thinking about tunes like Lament and Lush Life, then I start thinking of tunes by Jobim, not necessarily the really popular ones, but I don't know, everything that man wrote was so fantastic. You probably know a lot of his tunes.
I really love his music. My entree to his compositions was actually through Joe Henderson.
Oh, really?
I mean, of course, I was familiar with some of Jobim's music, but I got when I was working with Joshua Redman, we did a number of concerts opposite Joe Henderson. So every night I was sitting there listening to him play, and he was playing with the Brazilian musicians doing the music of Jobim. And it was some of the most moving, incredible music I had ever heard. I mean, I still have like kind of dreams about the way that he would play over that music. And it's almost like if I hadn't have been there to hear it, I wouldn't have believed that much music could kind of come out of somebody on such a consistent basis. I mean, it was night after, it was for a couple of weeks, hearing them every night. Just unbelievable.
And been doing it for so many years. You were lucky to have that experience. And I think doing that and hearing that probably makes you play any tune you would play by Jobim better because of having heard that.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like just having heard a musician like that, I think about the fact that the amount of feeling that he would put into every phrase that he would play. And I guess, if you were to ask him, he wouldn't agree with this, but it was almost like he would never play something that didn't have the utmost meaning to it. And I had never seen that, in person before. I mean, I'm sure Louis Armstrong had that, from the records I've heard in different musicians.
Yeah, well, he did. He did.
But of the people I had heard, he really, really blew me away.
Well, what can you play by Jobim?
Well, the one that I loved hearing Joe play was Triste. I like to
do
play
that. That's a beautiful tune.
All right.
I'd like to hear what you do with it.